And yes, I'm not John Crump, but just as good as, just like, Anderson Lowers. Never mind. And with that, Jacob, how's it going, man?
Hey, I am doing great. How about yourself there?
Good, good, good. So let's see. I want to say hi to a couple of people in the chat. We got Safety Harbor Firearms, Chris Bullis, Johnny Three Bar, Goon Beam. A couple of these folks are Floridians. Kurt 24, who's like on everybody's stream and helping out in a big way. So Jacob, who are you? What would you tell people?
So actually, probably most people know me by V. I go by, and you may call me V on pretty much all of the GunCAD chats here. I am the owner of 3D Print Freedom. So I am based here in Charleston, South Carolina. We enjoy developing and working on beta projects for the GunCAD, and then I help out by doing the parts kits and whatnot for a lot of the dev teams on those as well.
So you have a website. Actually, we can't say the .com part. So
yeah, you can't say that around here.
Shh. But you have a website, and so is the newest project the AUG? Is that?
Yep. So over the last 12 months, the two big projects we've pushed out with the different teams is we pushed out the 3D P90 kits with Are We Cool Yet? And then the latest one has been the Nylog. So that launched at actually basically just 1 month ago now. And we are running live. We got kits going out every couple of days. I've got big batches we're processing through. I just received probably another 100 barrels from KK,
cool.
who's partnered with us to make that happen, and getting those shipped out here in the next couple of days. It has been nonstop insane around here lately.
So now I know AUG. It's actually I've got an official AUG over here, and on the box there's an empty checkbox for 300 Blackout. But so 300 Blackout is new for an official Steyr AUG.
It's actually not even available. Steyr has been teasing that for 5 years. So that has been on the box for years. They recently,
no way. Oh, okay.
Yeah, most recently, they came out at a range day and they showed off a demo model, kind of like they've been doing for years, but they're telling people it's coming soon. And if it's anything like the Nylog, soon means 2 weeks from now, which translates to a year from now.
Wow.
Maybe.
Well, okay then.
And if you look at the box, they've also been telling us they're going to get a 7.62 by 39 and 9mm for a while too.
Yeah, I've seen rumors of the 9, which whatever. But 7.62. Now, all right. So you are selling now. When you say AUG kit, is it just barrels? What's the AUG kit?
Yeah, so we kind of, the way we did the Nylog is a little different than we did the P90. We kind of did it a la carte. So if you buy a kit from us, you're going to get all the hardware, including the nuts, the bolts, the op bushings, everything. And then from there, you can kind of choose your own adventure. So some people bought barrels way back in beta and alpha, and so they don't need another one. They're just running that. Some people want a 16-inch barrel. Some people want an 18.5. Some people want them fluted. Some people don't. So you can kind of go through and you pick your list. You pick your caliber. And then from there, we can add that on. If you want, in fact, I'll show these off. I'm very, very, very proud of these. So if you don't want to reuse that forward folding grip on those old gas blocks, we have these brand new gas blocks that we have put together. Oh, here we go. With KK Industries. So these drop right on. They've already got your set screws and everything.
So the foregrip fits on that?
Yeah, well, so the foregrip doesn't fit on these gas blocks. We're working on like a Picatinny attachment. But for the guys who want to run like M-Lock handguards who don't use the folding grip anyways, these are a great option. And then we also sell the stock AUG parts from Malaysia. So we've got some Malaysian parts kits that we've got available. And then we've even got some that have denials completed already, ready to go.
Oh, shoot.
In fact, I've got floating around here. I got one of them somewhere, but we've put in literally all of the work into the stock. So all you have to do, print the receiver, stick the hardware together, and you have a DIY Steyr AUG.
Okay, so just want to make sure everybody in the chat, do you know what a Steyr AUG is? What it looks like? I can drop a picture. Actually, if you saw the thumbnail, you seen what one looks like. Okay, so that's the stock. I was going to say receiver, but that's a stock. So realistically, the only thing I've got left to do on my org project is like order the hardware. And like I got the whole list, the spreadsheet, and I'm like, I got to place the order. What can I source locally? Do I go McMaster car? I'm like, I don't know. And realistically, that's the big stumbling block for me on it.
100%. Well, and that's how I got into doing the parts kits. So I'm a dad. I got 2 kids running around. I work full time. I'm still active duty Navy, and so when I got into GunCAD, and I realized I was like, wait, I just want to buy a kit. I want to go buy a Lego kit. I want to put a gun together. I want to have a gun. Realize that that's not available, and so as I'm starting to do this for myself, I'm like, well, making 1 and making 10 is not that different. And then before you know it, I've got a second full-time job putting kits in bags. We do a lot of our own machining here too, so it's it nonstop process. And because frankly, sourcing that stuff can kind of be a pain.
Oh, for sure.
By the time you've paid for shipping from 4 places, you might as well just bought a kit.
Yeah, I'm like, where's my spreadsheet? I got it here somewhere with the list of all of the parts, and I'm like, all right, I'm doing a kit. I got a friend doing a kit. I'll order this many parts, and I just want to, like, the print stuff is pretty easy. Although I have this rail F up on me pretty good. I don't know if you could see it. It looks like somebody nibbled.
That one rail has been the worst part of the printing process for me. Like nylon, fine, everything, but that one rail, every time I print it, it wants to warp.
This one curls up on the end a little. So yeah, I'm getting there. So now, question on the AUG is on the receiver, the denials. Where's a trigger pack? So the trigger pack, there's supposed to be a denial in the receiver, basically where my fingers are, that prevents it from going in. Or I should say prevents a full auto trigger pack, which is like, this is where the pin is for the auto sear. But locating them, I'm like, that's kind of a bit of a pain.
It is not easy. So I've got the jig out in the shop because I've been doing a bunch of those lately. So that is probably hands down the hardest part of the build. And it's not for it being a particularly difficult thing, but it's just the jig is in there, right? It's got the 2 arms that come out along the side. You have to make sure they're at the right height. A kind of a pro tip is if you get your drill bit, you can actually kind of see on here right at the bottom of this.
Bring you full screen. Hold on. Where's my button?
Yeah, they're real small. So it's kind of hard to see here, but if you get these drills right in the crevice, and actually these are probably just a tiny bit low, but they'll function. And when you get the jig, you just make sure they're right in the corner. And then these are 3/32, just because that's the smallest drill bit I had handy. But by doing that, you can always adjust. So if you find that your first drill marks were a little low for how you've milled your trigger pack or cut the sidewalls, you can either cut the sidewalls just a little lower, or when you come through with your larger drill bit, just drill it out a little high, put a little pressure on it while you're drilling, so that way you can kind of adjust them higher or lower. That's part of why when we do the kits where people are like, hey, I just want you to do the full denials, we do them as one unit. So I don't do 10 trigger packs all at once. I'm going to do 1 trigger pack with 1 stock. So when I install those denials, if I have to adjust the trigger pack a little bit to make it work, cut them a little lower, just adjust them. We want to make sure that they're tuned. So when you go to put that trigger pack we send you into the stock we send you, you have 0 issues. And that is the most finicky part of the build, but probably one of the most important, at least from a I don't want my dog shot perspective.
Right. So, boy, I mean, I could talk a long time. I've read the instructions like 4 or 5 times just to make sure I'm like totally assimilating it and understanding everything going on. It really isn't that complex.
No,
Um,
it's I mean, honestly, the Nye log is probably the simplest to build 3D printed gun out there. I would argue maybe the Harlot's easier. Um, because all you're doing is you've got the
where's
trunnion.
the parts? Do I have? Yeah,
Uh,
I got trunnion. Let's see.
yeah. Okay.
So I've got
Oh, beautiful.
like
Right.
I
So
don't have. Where's the rear part? Oh, that part. Where's that? You know what it is? I've been trying to be a little more organized, and I've been uh, throwing them in a bin.
you can't tell from looking at the background here, but I've been organizing mine as well, and I can't find anything.
So, and then the alignment jig here.
Yep.
So that's
Right.
the
So
the other.
you put
I had that
the
backward.
alignment jig on there. You put the barrel on the alignment jig. You slide it in. You run a couple of threaded rods through. You put some nuts on it, and you have a functional nylog. It's the hardest part really is the denials. So the front denial is easy. You're cutting a slot.
So yeah, you
Yep.
mean this part? So yeah, that's better
Exactly.
lighting. So
Yep.
this will only go in a receiver that you've cut that from.
Exactly. So when I talked to the ATF, so we actually consulted with the ATF towards the end of the project, just make sure we had all of our ducks in a row. We said, hey, because we're doing commercial sales, this isn't just a private home build. I want to make sure, like, if I send somebody a stock and a parts kit where I said, hey, we've done the denials, they're good to go. I wanted to make sure I had ATF buy off. So I got a chance to talk to it's Mr. Hoffman, ironically, of the ATF, the director of the tech branch.
Okay.
And we sent him pictures of the nylog. And we said, hey, what is required? So on the AUG, because of the way it's designed and the part that they've designated the receiver, you have two things you have to do. First and foremost, a semi-auto receiver, so like what you've got there, cannot just drop right into a machine gun stock, because then it would just function just fine. Because really the only difference between a machine gun stock and a regular stock that you get from Steyr, they used the size of the latch bar that goes across to make them incompatible.
So there's a cross receiver latch that holds. So yeah, that
here.
So it's wider front to back on the machine gun and narrower on the semi-auto.
Exactly. And so with the nylog, because of course we're using the machine gun stocks, we wanted to be able to use the same latch. So our solution to that was that little bar.
That prevents it from going into a machine gun because you need to have that cut out.
Exactly. And then the other thing, of course, is now that, hey, this stock fits a receiver, you can't just put a full auto pack in it, hence the trigger denials. And so that's also why we advise, hey, you really need to do the trigger denials first, because if you go back and you do it the other way around, technically for all of an hour or however long it takes you, you have a machine gun because you have a stock that will take that receiver and a full auto pack. Now, is the ATF going to come to your garage? No. Are they going to come to my shop? Well, that's
I don't know. After Matt Hoover and Vickers, I don't want to go anywhere near that line.
I can't fault you. In fact, my IOI said the same thing. He's like, look, you're fine. You are complying with the intent. But yeah, after Matt Hoover, don't touch it. Make sure you do it 100% cross T's, dot your eyes.
I want to do the not real legal advice thing here. You don't have a letter, and I'm not saying this. I'm building the project and I'm excited about it.
Of course.
You don't have an actual letter from the ATF saying this is what you do to stay out of jail. You have a conversation.
So we've actually had multiple conversations. So we've had multiple conversations and email correspondence, because after every time I talk to the ATF, I write them an email and I go, this is what we talked about. Is this correct? Here's the pictures of what we talked about. Confirm. And so we've got an email, which is right now they said that they're backed up on designation letters by like 2 months or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
They've
Mm-hmm.
told me we've got one coming, approving it. But in the meantime, we have that email to kind of tide us over. And that really, we just wanted to kind of calm everybody's nerves, because you get a lot of people who are concerned, and rightly so. Though I think it kind of is a little ironic, given the whole point of the community is we do what we want, for everybody to freak out about it. But, we wanted to do what we could to help kind of alleviate that.
So I guess on the AUG receiver, there's a couple of like 3/16 key stock you got to put in. So I know part of it goes here, and then there's like part that's offset. So that's just further making sure you can't put a full auto receiver in.
Exactly. And so
it's not only this, it's further keying, so
Yep.
you can't just drop a full auto receiver in.
Yep. And so actually when we talk to the ATF, there's a little bit of a misconception on the idea that you can't take a full auto receiver and then put it into stock, because your full auto receiver is already registered under your SOT or under pre-86 or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
So actually, I say this, when we talked to the ATF, we didn't talk about that extra key stock. We talked about the slot and the bar, because we wanted to go, have we met the minimums? And then if you choose to do the key stock, things like that, you've gone quote unquote over the top, and you're way extra compliant, if that makes sense. So for us, the ones that we're putting out, we don't have the key stock installed because it's not required, based on the letters and the emails we've received.
Okay.
So
let's see. Do you have a barrel handy?
Yeah, actually, I've got a whole bunch of them. Just give me 1 second here.
So I'm a little worried that we're going to. I don't want to show assembling anything, because YouTube frowns upon that. And I actually did commentary on the Ghost Gunner 3 release video where they showed a couple of tool passes, and I got a 1-week vacation from YouTube because I was showing how to build a firearm, and I'm like, you saw a milling head go by.
Yeah, you gotta love. I think 100% ATF. By the way, based on the comments here, yeah, the ATF screws you all over. But you know who's worse? YouTube and Google. 100%. They are out to get you. The ATF is like, at least some of them are.
Because I'm like, I was gonna grab a barrel, show the alignment jig, and how I'm like, oh yeah, no, I'm not doing that.
Yeah. Unfortunately, and that's the thing, is you could be showing something completely way legal, and YouTube is really out to get you and demonetize you and screw you over. But we do have a barrel here, so I actually pulled off. We've got a red cap that goes.
So, all right, let's talk about the barrel. So the genius of the AUG project is like, okay, you do not get like this much of the AUG and the barrel. You get a stub with the gas block and the forward grip.
Yep, and it looks just like this. Actually, this is one I'm going to put together tonight for a customer.
Yeah. So while we're there, does that birdcage screw on the KAK barrel or no?
It does not. So the one thing with the modern AUGs is they convert them to 1/2x28, which is if you have a 5.56 barrel from KAK, it's a 1/2x28. If you have to black, that's 5/8x24. But I'm going to put a but on that, so you'll like this. Because, of course, everybody asks about the tulips. Hey, can I just drop my left-hand tulip thread on this 1/2x28 barrel? The answer is no, but these here are designed specifically to go on your AR-15, your AUG, something similar, so you get that old-fashioned style. So we've got those available on our site as well.
That's cool. Yeah, because I was talking to somebody, they're like, yeah, I ordered this part, that part, this part, that part. I'm like, but isn't that in the kit? And I'm like, oh, wait a second. It's probably not going to thread on.
Yeah, and that's one of the unfortunate things. Now, these here are like rock set on there. In fact, anybody who sends me their stubs, unless they explicitly go, I really want this left-hand thread, tulip back, I just cut the whole stub short and then press them out, because they are. I have to put them in a pipe clamp vise, which literally like digs into the barrel. clamp
Hmm.
it down. I heat them up cherry red, and then I'm sitting there with double wrenches trying to go at it. They are on there good. So good
Oh,
luck.
so you don't have a 20-ton press or anything like that?
Well, I do have a 20-ton press, but these these are going to be wider in diameter than the gas block. So if you are trying to press this off, you either have to cut it or take off all of the hardware.
Oh,
So
okay.
and actually I operate with a 40-ton, and even then some of these gas blocks are a little tight.
That's crazy. Wow. So let's see. Barrel. All right. So the barrel, the genius of the project is somebody's like, hey, I can 3D print this, and the AUG bolt face is almost exactly an AR-15 bolt face.
It is exactly the same, but it is 70,000 steeper. So there's actually an option if you are a machinist and or have a machinist buddy, or you just really are an expert with a grinder and you can take an AR-15 barrel, like, so pretend this isn't one of my KK ones. You
Hmm.
unscrew this extension. You can get an extension wrench from Amazon or Brownells. Unscrew it, headspace it with a couple of little shims that you can get off McMaster for, I don't know, $3-4.
Right.
Tighten this down, and then you'll need a new gas port because the barrel
Right.
journals are different. But you can turn that on a lathe, drill a new gas
Hmm.
plug,
Hmm.
and or a new gas port, and you're good to go.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
It's
So
way cheaper than trying to source Steyr barrels. If anybody's tried to do that recently, good luck. They're expensive.
yeah, that's there's a lot of really bright stuff going on here. I haven't looked at the PS90 build, but I do have a PS90 myself, and I was kind of surprised that it wasn't a shaped like PS90. It literally is, functions just like a PS90.
Yeah, very similar. Really, the only major changes, of course, right? It's all DIY, so we had to split the clamshells up into what it ended up being, I think, 5 pieces.
Hmm.
Um,
Hmm.
6 pieces if you have a small printer, and then it screws together. The trigger functions relatively well. It is it's a great build. It's a little finicky. It requires some tuning to get everything just right, but once it's running well, it runs well.
Now, the 3D printed PS90, is that using an AR-15 trigger group?
It does. So
Okay.
inside the back, and of course, I don't have one here to show right now, but inside the back is very similar to the AUG. It's got a cassette trigger, but
Hmm.
instead of having a P90 trigger or anything, it's an AR-15 one and a little pusher bar, and that is your rear bullpup trigger.
So the AR-15 FCU is like the Chevy 350 of trigger groups. It's getting
Oh,
used
100%.
everywhere.
100%. In fact, I've joked and I've talked with people. I'm like, what are our other options? We do everything with an AR-15 trigger group. What if our supply dries up? Has anybody done anything with an AK trigger group? And frankly, the only times where I've seen it not is M11 sometimes if you're using a factory trigger.
Hmm.
I've got an MP7 project where an AR-15 and AK triggers were too big
Hmm.
because MP7s are ridiculously small. And then of course, anything that uses a DIY trigger of some sort or a 1022 pack. The AR-15 trigger it fits in everything. I've seen people cut the trigger bar off or the hook off the bottom of the trigger
Hmm.
and shorten it up a bunch. Like you said, Chevy 350 of the gun CAD world. It just works every time.
So I've seen, was it Ivan released a video? The MP5, the printable MP5, they're
Yes.
using an AR trigger, and you can use a binary trigger in that also.
Apparently, now I haven't built one because it's always been out of my budget range to spend that much on a kit lately. But yeah, that's what I keep hearing is you can use FRTs, you can use binaries, just because of the way that they've made the bolt. It seems to work. I think the
Oh, that's
FRTs
crazy.
required some finicky magic, but I've definitely seen a super safe one. So
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I saw somebody post that on Reddit the other day. Super
Oh no
safe
way.
MP5, and
That's
it
cool.
ran. I don't know how much tuning it required, but man, if it's anything like some of the builds I've seen with the super safety now, it's less finicky than my full auto M4 was.
Oh, neat, neat. Yeah, well, Dark Crump and I. All right, so I gotta laugh. We have this was originally Snoring Rich, and then it was DLD after Ambien, and now he's pre-op Crump. Uh, that was a photo that Crump shared just before he went in for some procedure. Uh, we're all at Iraq Veteran, and so Hoffman Tactical was there and his family. Have you met Hoffman and his family?
You know, I have only interacted with him by email. Seems like a
Oh,
great guy,
okay.
but I haven't had. I've always wanted to. He's probably so my background's in engineering outside of here, and
Hmm.
so I always wanted to sit down with him just because I love how he analyzes everything in his
Oh yeah,
videos.
yeah.
Very
I mean,
very
wicked
scientific
smart.
method.
So his whole family is very unique, and his sister like was a gangster running the gun. I couldn't believe it. So his mom, his sister, his brother were all out there, and they're like loading mags and showing people how to shoot the guns and helping everybody. And like his sister's a total operator. I was like, holy cow, look at her go. And his mom was super cool. I actually talked to her, like I was calling Tim on his cell, and she saw the number and picked up, and we actually, shot the breeze for like an hour. It's like, wow. It was great. I finally got to meet all of them, and
Yep.
really, really interesting people.
Yeah, gun cat's a family affair, guys. If your kids aren't into it, if your wife isn't into it, you need to change that because really,
All
I
right,
have
I'm calling you
never
out
been.
on that. You're telling me your wife's on into GunCAD?
She is
Really?
now not to the. I'll admit, not to the extent I am. Right. Obviously, I've devoted
I I'd be
3 years
happy
to
if
it.
my wife turned a blind eye to it, said like, "Are you doing gun stuff again?" I'm like, "Yes."
Now, my wife will come in here and help me pack orders, especially when we do a release and we're just slammed.
Oh, cool.
My wife will come in here. She'll help pack orders. That's actually some of y'all who've emailed customer service have heard from my wife, Casey.
Hmm.
I take my daughter out testing sometimes, depending on where we're going. She was out there when we shot a deer the other day. Not gun cat, unfortunately, but you gotta get your family into it, man.
Yeah, I don't. I mean, boy, my wife has a carry permit, and every time something goes strange in the world, she's more interested in carrying and stuff like that. So it's like just recently, because I snore, my wife usually doesn't sleep with me. So behind the night table on her side of the bed and the other room, the guest bedroom that she sleeps in, I had to put a magnetic mount in, so she can have a gun behind the nightstand, quickly available. And she's like, "Oh, I want this in my car." She has a gun safe in the car and all that bit. The My daughter is borderline hoplophobic. Like she knows all of the gun safety rules. She can operate, like an AR and most pistols, most Glock style pistols. But like she recently had an issue at her dorm where there was a shooting in the parking lot.
Yeah, I remember
And
you
it's
telling me
like,
about that. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So I went out there, I stayed 2 nights, and they got the guy. I'm like, all right, I'm out of here. And like, you want me to leave you a gun? I'm like, you want me to leave you? She's like, no, no. Now in Florida, she's 21. She can quote unquote permitless concealed carry, which is one of the dumbest things I've ever heard of. Not, I'm Second Amendment constitutional carry fan. I don't believe you should have a permit to carry. I believe if you're a free man, if you're not incarcerated, you should have the right to keep and bear arms.
100%.
But yeah, my daughter, even after that scare, was not on board. Uh, and I would not. I'm lead the horse to water, and let's see what happens. I'm not gonna try and make her drink. That's
Oh, yeah. You can, and you always, it's a balancing act, right? If if you try and force people into something too much, right, they're going to push away and be more against it. On the other hand, like if you got to show them at least what you can do.
All right. So Barton Fink has a comment here. So I have the MP5K clone, so the Turkish MP5K, and Barton Fink is saying, well, I could print the MP5 lower and use it on my clone. I'm like, yeah, I don't know about that.
Yeah, so my understanding now, of course, having never actually touched the project other than to like read through the instructions, because it is a real pretty interesting one. But a lot of MP5 parts just drop in there. It really is just a lower that's different. Kind of like an AR-15, you know, that's the part that's going to be destroyed if you get a kit.
Right,
So,
right. So he's saying that I could have a binary MP5, which I would love to have, if I print a lower. I'm like, that's
yeah. So it
interesting.
looks like, I mean, if you want a binary trigger from for your MP5,
Like Franklin Armory, or
it's like $600, $700.
yeah, it's up there, and I think Crumpy's got a connection for a discount, but it's still up there.
Which is insane, because if you look at the binaries, it's not that different than a AR-15 binary. Just
Well,
eyeballing it, it's not that.
It's kind of like if they make one C8 Corvette, or 30,000 that year, you're distributing the development cost over many more.
Oh, for sure.
I'm sure it's probably 100-to-1 ratio on AR-15 binary triggers to MP5 binary triggers.
Yeah, no, I believe that, but there's also the we'll call it the rich factor, right? If people who buy MP5s are willing to spend more money on it, I see the same thing as the people who buy AUGs, right? Because we're working with the AUG stuff. I'm working on developing some factory stuff for the Steyr AUG. So people, without question, they'll pay $400 for a handguard, or $1,000 for an optic, and I'm like, different market apparently.
Yeah, I got the Stormtrooper AUG, and as a lefty, so Tim Military Arms channel, he's fully bearded and mustached. He's shooting an AUG as a lefty, and the casings are like, they'll land right here on your upper lip.
Oh my!
As a lefty, with a mustache, that's okay. It'll bounce off. It's annoying. Unmustached, like me, it'll leave crescent-shaped marks.
Yep, a little burn on your little lip there.
What? Yeah, it's like the casing is like cutting your upper lip. Yeah.
Yep. So a lot of people switch to a brass deflector, which seems to be pretty popular, even for
it worked. Yeah, yeah. So I downloaded a brass deflector. I had to do like 3 revisions. It didn't. The one I downloaded, and I'm not sure where I got it from originally, did not work well. Didn't clip in. And I printed one, and it clips in fine. But since then, I'm as a lefty, I got 2 Ratworks bolts and the left-handed Ratworks bolts.
Oh, great!
So I'm modifying 2 stocks to left eject.
Yeah. So I don't know. I have a factory AUG, and I don't know, just because I haven't messed with it as much as I have the NATO stock, or the Steyr stocks here. But on the Steyr stocks, there's actually, the whole cutout is here. It's all marked. So as long as you follow the lines, you'll get the right port size. You should be able to drop that bolt in and then run it that way, and then you can.
Yeah, I'm like filing. Like I cut it open. It probably is usable now, but I need to, get the lines parallel and do a little more fine.
Make it look good while you're at it.
But I'm thinking I'm going to be putting a casing deflector on there anyhow, so the casing deflector will hide all the ills.
Hey, there you go.
And if I grow a beard, I just look like it doesn't get that nice full military arms channel. I think so. Walt at Safety Harbor Firearms, hence the 50 cal back here. He saw that I bought some AUG parts kits, and was like, I don't know what Rich is up to, but the AUG parts kits are cheap. I'll buy a couple. So Walt's got a press, so I'm going to be heading over there once I get all of the hardware set up and blah blah blah. So I was hoping like last week I would do it last week. This week I would call Walt up, say, hey, you got some free time? So it's going to be next week probably. I still haven't actually placed the order for the parts and gotten down that path.
I'm hearing the favorite saying of the Nilog beta, which is 2 weeks.
Yes, right, right. Right, that's like the airplane building community. 90% done, 120% to go.
Yep. Now I'm gonna have
I
to ask you all sorts of questions about the kit airplane. If you know that community, I'm trying to break into that here on my hobby side. So
I would say, there are some people that are just maniacs. I know somebody from Long Island. He built a Cozy 4, I believe it was a 4, in like 90 days. I'm like,
jeez.
I and that's like without any prefab parts. So
so he's not even doing the whatever it is, the 51%
quick build kit. Like there's no such thing as a quick build kit for a canard. Okay, so
that's
a velocity, the velocity, there's a quick build kit, but so I see Walt giving dates out. All right. So there's a June joke going around. The June joke originally occurred, I think, 2 years ago, when JSD had their PR trigger at Iraq Veteran. I'm like, oh, when's it going to be out? They're like, June. I'm like, okay. So I've been joking with Bob and Jordan about it being available in June. So they're like, we're a couple weeks away from having it done, and everybody will get one as soon as it's available. But Rich, you're going to have to wait till June. So
got him.
So that's the June joke going on.
Yeah.
2
weeks.
So, so like I'm looking at your, you guys see my whiteboard. You don't see the rest of my office. It looks like a garbage truck of tech and guns was dumped here. That's why you don't see the rest of my office.
Yeah, I would have a better backdrop so that y'all don't see my junk truck load, but I'm out of wall space.
Right. So I've actually done some cleaning in my office, believe it or not, just not my desk. And my desk, I'd be embarrassed to show you. It's pretty bad. But I've got, I don't know why this house is weird. It's kind of like pyramid. The roof is pyramid shaped. So towards the center of the house, you have higher ceilings. So I have a wall unit, and I can fit 2 storage bins stacked on top of each other on the wall unit before it hits the ceiling. And I'm like, so there's a lot of stuff I'm like trying to sort, organize, and put up there, and clean out and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, I'm just going a little crazy. So the rolling all the way back.
Yeah.
If this was a real commercially available AUG, is the serial number on this part on the receiver? What's the serialized part on the AUG?
So we had this discussion. I actually asked the ATF this because it came up. There was a polymer AUG way back in the day, which is part of why there was so much debate about the denials. In fact, there was a TFB article on it, I believe, where they serialized the bolt carrier because it contained multiple fire control unit parts and it was metal, and that was the big thing. So when I talked to the ATF, it was called the ATRAX. There we go. That's what it's called.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, and there's a reason it never ended up getting imported, and it wasn't because the company had a change of heart, which is what they talked about. It's because the ATF told them, hey, with the new receiver rules, you're expected to serialize each part of the receiver. So if you want us to say this whole thing is the receiver, You got to serialize each part. And the bullet carrier thing, they actually wrote and told TFB, hey, these guys didn't follow what we told them, what the tech branch told them. They're not allowed to serialize a bullet carrier. Please take this down so people don't get confused, and they never took it down. So that's what they told me, right? Who knows what the actual story is, but if you had to ask me and you were going to serialize this because you're in a state like California or I think Michigan requires you to serialize them, I'd have to look at that again. But some of these where there's some registration required if you're going to remain compliant with state law, then I would argue that the visible portion, which is going to be that large piece, is going to be the receiver. I've heard some people argue that the trunnion is, but because it's concealed inside the stock, it's not a part that you can serialize.
So, there's my off. Okay, caliber serial number. Okay, yeah. So right behind the gas port or whatever, the foregrip, there's a serial number.
Yep, and that's what I did with mine. So because I'm an SOT, right? If I'm going to finish a build and I intend to keep it, the serial numbers get put onto the receiver, right? My LLC, my city and state, which is a bummer because I'm in Somerville, so that ends up being a pretty big mark on there. But it all I print a lot of that on there, and then for serials, I'll put a metal tag or something on there. And I did it on the large piece. That's just the most logical one. That dealing with the ATF, a lot of it ends up being intent. Now, which is such horse crap because there's the letter of the law, right? But because you're dealing with a regulatory agency, they get to play the game of intent. Now they're not coming after home builders. That's really not.
Well, my beef about intent is it's a thought crime at that point.
100%. And
you look, I've unintentionally done some stupid things. I'm like, I can understand to somebody outside it looks that way. It looks like I intended. I'm not talking about an ATF violation. I'm like, it looks like I intended to insult somebody by saying these things, but the way my brain works, I didn't mean it that way.
Yeah, well, and that's what's so. It's tough, right? Because I'm on both sides and I've seen both sides. Every ATF agent I've dealt with has been, knock on wood, pleasant, and they use the word intent because they're asking things like, hey, you put a serial number on it. If you sent this to the tech branch about you sent your single shot home built pipe pistol to the ATF and said, hey, which one's the receiver? We might have said a different part, but hey, you serialized it, and that's better than we can ask for. But that's the problem is they assume that you violated the law until you can prove otherwise. The question comes down a lot of times to enforcement. They're not showing up at your range asking to see your guns, and if they did, you need to pack up and go because you haven't done anything. It's weird because, and that's why we made such a point with the NILOG, like, hey, because this is a commercial, right? We're going to do some commercial stuff with this. We're doing these denials for people. We need to make sure it is on our A game.
Gotcha. So do you have a commercial log also?
So I have a Steyr one, right? That we actually are working and should in the next month have 7.62 by 39 and 300 blackout barrels available for. Yeah, so that was.
So how do you do 300? I'm sorry, 300 blackout is easy. 7.62 by 39 magazine.
7.62 by 39. The great thing, really, there's two things. Number one, NATO stocks are a thing. Everybody forgets about them. NATO stocks are a thing.
There's NATO parts kits out there?
There's not parts kits.
Okay.
But for us, when you're working with, if you're doing a factory build, right, and you want to make parts for the factory gun, there's so many of them out there, right? We have developed the quick change barrels. I measured them, took them into CAD, and developed the machining hardware to do those quick change barrels.
Oh, sure.
So if you have a factory AUG and you're like, hey, Nylog's not my thing, but I really want 300 Blackout. I want 7.62 by 39. Those will be available here in the next month or two.
Oh,
Hoping
very
we'll
cool.
have
I
those
wasn't
in
even aware
stock.
of that.
Yeah, that's like a brand new, very recent thing. Within the last week, I started getting some testing, and we've done 300 Blackout for a couple weeks now. 7.62 by 39 has been this week. For the Nylog, though, which of course most people here are going to be a little more interested in that. Yeah.
So
Oh,
yeah, I
Frank.
don't know if you guys can see the tooling on the back end of the barrel here. Where is it? Up there. Yeah, it's got these lugs on it, so it's like a quarter turn and it releases.
Yeah, there's a little nub you push down, you turn the barrel, you pull it right out. It is very convenient, but Steyr has failed to ever utilize that in any meaningful way. Nobody is switching from 16 to 20 to 14.5 regularly. I love it, but nobody's doing that. They do it once a year. They do it when they're cleaning.
Well, I saw they wanted. I forget what I got that for, but there was some blowout sale on PSA, and I got
Yep.
that off. They recently had a sale on like the 24-inch barrel, and it was like $2,400. I'm like,
Oh yeah.
I'm
And
like,
that's
now that I know this, I'm like, I'll just call up Jacob.
yeah. Well, and the thing is, people don't realize this. So I learned this myself because I was trying to get a factory AUG so we could prototype these barrels. It's like I've got the CAD done now. I need an AUG to put it in.
Hmm.
So I called up one of their official dealers here in the United States. So the way Steyr does it is a little weird. They don't have distributors like you would any other gun company. They have main dealers who they don't have a minimum advertised price or anything like that. They have a minimum advertised transfer price. So if I went to their main dealer and I said, "Hey, I want to put some AUGs on my shelf," their minimum advertised transfer price is like $1,800.
Oh shoot!
So every time you sell them like Palmetto State gets a big order of them, they're trying to dump them because they don't sell them fast enough. They put them on sale for $1,500. Steyr sees that and may not give them more in the future. So
Oh,
yeah, so
oh,
it turns out when you see prices of AUGs at like $2,200, it's not the dealers that are putting it there. It really is Steyr's minimum advertised sales price and some of those sorts of things. So yeah, if you see those blowout sales where it's like $1,500, something like that, like steal that because that might not be around forever.
oh, interesting. So, one car fast says, "Why don't they arrest all the corrupt ATF agents that sold machine guns to the Mexican cartels?"
A frickin' men. I grew up in Arizona, right where all that was happening. Actually, the gun store where some of those transfers and things that went across the border is not far from where friends of mine live. Yeah,
Hmm. Hmm.
100%. And if you want to track guns going forward, we have our Fast and Furious trackers available. You put an air tag in them, you clip it on the gun. We've got a permanent install version. Um, you'll track them better than the ATF because it's an Apple AirTag.
Oh, I was going to ask if there was an air tag inside, or that's cool. That's cool. So, let's see. For the 300 blackout for the Nylog is easy
Yep.
because it's an AR mag, or I shouldn't say AR mag. It's a AUG mag.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
what people have to realize with the AUG, there's a couple of different versions. The NATO AUG uses a regular AR-15 mag. The Nylog is using the proprietary AUG mag,
Yep.
which
So
comes in there's what a 20, a 30, and a 42 round.
yep. And then any of the aftermarket waffle mags that you can get out there will work. I think Pro Mag makes some. A lot of people prefer to run the waffle mags, even in the factory community, just because they think they're a little more reliable. They've got that AUG aesthetic to them. To be honest, I've never had issues with my NATO stock, but it has one less trigger bar and some things like that a lot of people like because in their head it's better. Um, I, and that's the thing is both of them run very reliably. So with the factory AUGs, both of them are pretty widely out there. and I think the Waffle Mag one has a bolt hold open that the NATO
Yeah,
doesn't.
there's a version. I don't know the nomenclature on all the versions, but yeah, there's a last round bolt hold open and a bolt release on the left side of the body. I don't have that one.
Yeah, and the NATO one I have has a last round bolt hold open, but it doesn't have like a bolt release. You just got to grab the charging
Really?
handle. Yeah,
Oh.
I gotta futz with it a little bit. It's a little more finicky than like an AR-15.
Mm-hmm.
The
Mm-hmm.
ergonomics, once you get used to it, I like it better. Um,
Hmm.
but it's a training thing, 100%. You can
Oh
be
yeah.
good at
Yeah.
an M4, you can be good at an AUG. It's just all what your muscle memory is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Who was it did a good video on that? Just like AUG speed and training and stuff.
I saw one from crap, Jason Reeves, I think it
Yeah.
was,
Yeah.
with TFB did a video on that
Yeah. That was
recently,
it then.
and it showed apparently with training a bullpup is faster than an M4. I haven't finished reading the full study, but apparently some study came out with that recently.
Yeah, you're still doing well. All right, the one they were using was a NATO AUG with a bolt release. If
Yeah,
we would still be doing like the HK slap.
yeah, oh yeah, which everybody loves.
Yeah, yeah, and it's funny. So again, I have like a home defense PDW AR-15 that's readily available, and the bolt's locked back, and there's a loaded mag in it. So I'm just showed my wife and daughter how to go through, how to look. I'm doing this to release the bolt,
Yep.
and they can't release it with their index finger. I'm a lefty, so I'm releasing the bolt with my index finger. They can't do that. I'm like, how do I train them to do this? I'm like, go like this, just grab it by the hand guard and smack it.
Oh, that's what I do. Is I'll just take that left hand, come smack the side of the receiver, go up to the handguard. It's muscle memory, but once you get used to it, you get used to it.
Yeah. So a lot of people aren't bullpup fans. I'm not sure where Walt. I think Walt is bullpup agnostic. Hank Strange, and I both are like bullpup fanboys.
I grew up in the
I
Space Cat era, so like I'm with y'all on that. The
well,
bullpup aesthetic is just
I've got a 10 mil high point carbine bullpupped. The Hightower Armory.
oh
Yeah,
man.
I mean, I wish it was Rumble. I'd be like, yeah, look at this, look. Yeah. Yeah,
Oh
but
man.
I got the Hightower Armory 10 millimeter. The thing that sucks about that is you got a 10 round magazine.
I'll bet you that that conversion kit probably costs more than the whole gun.
It wasn't that bad. I seem to remember it was like 250. So I bought it like when it just came out. And it was like $400, which is too much. I paid it, but it was too much.
Yeah.
Um,
They
but
the bullpup kit's probably also machined better than the.
I got to tell you, the stock taking it down and all of that is better than the high point stock.
Oh,
It's a tool
I
free
believe that.
takedown. Yeah, it's a couple of pins and boom, it's down and out, and it's easier to clean and maintain than the. I don't know, High Point's out of their mind that they're not factory equipping their 10 mil with that stock.
Well, I mean, they're out of their minds because they won't sell us parts kits, and there are more people buying parts kits than there are people buying high points. So,
So Brett, I don't have an RDB, I have an RFB, and yeah, I saw the Keltec guys over at Iraq Veteran. Let's see, beginning of October, so a month ago. Yeah, okay. So I am an SG1 fan, and I, I maybe that's why I needed the PS90 so bad, and
yeah.
now I got the MP5 also. So, so are you a sci-fi fan? Is there a
Oh,
particular show that made
you,
you want certain guns?
you know the Stargate. I'm guilty of that one. Now,
Hmm.
of course, I grew up on watching, with my dad, the old Star Treks and the old Star Wars.
Oh
So
yeah.
like, I have always loved the Sterling as well.
Now, when
Just
you say old Star Trek, you're talking the OG from the 60s?
oh yeah,
Okay.
all the way back, all the way back. The old TV shows. No, don't get me wrong. I love the new ones too. I don't get too caught up on the which one was better. I just enjoy it all. But the Sterling is another one. Growing up watching Star Wars, I've always wanted a
Oh, okay.
Sterling. Um, so I have one here. I need to finish putting together. That's going to be a
So,
post.
Walt Safety Harbor Firearms has Sten parts. I can't say the last part of the website, but he has a website and
I
sells Sten
wondered if
parts.
that was the case. I've seen Sten parts, and for a while they had laser engraved tubes that disappeared because
Yes.
I went to go buy a whole bunch of them, and then they weren't there.
Yeah.
Are they back?
If Walt's still in the chat,
Well,
we can see.
please tell me they're back because those tubes are amazing.
Yeah, it's funny. I've been there. I've seen the laser that they do it on. So they have a fifth axis that just rotates the tube. It's so cool.
I need to get one that's like laser cut all the way through now.
I don't know if they're doing that. Let's see. I'm looking at their website. Parts, Sten, all Sten. They have a vented tube. Yeah, it looks like they got the laser tube there.
Nice. Okay.
Yeah, looks like they got a bunch of different variations. I'm not a Stenophile. In fact, the first Sten and full auto Sten I shot was Walters.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I love the cyclic rate. The cyclic rate is just right.
Oh yeah. We so I do center fire biathlon. So any of the gun run stuff you see me share, anything like that, I go to a lot of those events. And the last one we were at, the first stage, you had to go through, you shoot these pistol targets, and then you holster your pistol, and out there on the back of, I think it was like a truck or something, is a a Sterling and an Uzi, and you had to grab one, load it, and then hit these. They're little targets, maybe 20 yards out, and then mag dump into another target. And of course, they're all post samples, so we're having time or less. Man, the Sterling. Cool. Now, right, we're at 20 yards, so it's nothing crazy, but the cyclic rate and everything, it just kept it just right there on target. It was relatively accurate. I was very, very impressed.
Oh yeah, that's a lot of fun. Actually, so the joke, Hank is up by Gainesville, Hank Strange. So he's got like 5 acres and he'll shoot in the yard there. I mean, I shoot in my own backyard, but it's not like I'm doing a whole bunch of stuff. I'm in Florida, so Florida rules or Florida law, state law, which supersedes everything, is you got to have greater than an acre, and the rounds can't leave your property. So that no magic, no 5,000 yards from whatever.
Well, that's better than it is here because for us, I think you still have to be 500 feet from a structure. So any of my testing, if I'm not at a public range or I go rent an indoor range, is in 1 maybe 2 rounds into I got a 50-gallon drum with concrete at the bottom of it and dirt, and with the suppressor because I got to keep it quiet.
Yeah, and the funny thing is, my neighbors, so there's flag lots behind me.
Yeah.
And my one neighbor, it's like, like a year ago, we did actually, Walter and I did, I'm looking at it right here. I wish I could hold it up, but it's an AR pistol from buffer tube to barrel. It's 14.5 inches long.
Oh boy.
And so we literally got the 4.5-inch KAK barrel and cut the threads off it.
Oh my god! What is it? Is it the 5.56 one?
Yeah, 5.56.
Oh my god!
So I took pictures like it's about this time of the day where it's just like close to sunset. You could the fireball out of it. I could feel the heat on my arms from the fireball.
Now I have to build one of those. I'll have to build that and run that as my my center fire pistol in my next match.
All right, so Barton Fink, you're killing me. Danny Meatball actually sent me some of his drum mag files because at one point I was all gung ho on like doing a drum mag for the high point. Yeah, that would be cool. But all right, so there's Coop. Hey, Coop, how's it going? So my neighbor, the one behind my house, he's like, yeah, So first off, the short, the 14 and a half inch AR-15 is as loud as the 50 cal. It's unbelievably loud.
I 100% believe there's so much unburned powder coming out of there and detonating.
So, it's like I text my neighbor, I'm like, hey, I'm going to be shooting a really loud gun in the backyard. And like he could say, hey, I'm on a conference call, or I got neighbors over for dinner, don't do it. And I'd be like, okay, cool, I'll wait till tomorrow or something,
Oh yeah, you got to work with your neighbors.
And it's like he writes me back, he's like, enjoy, have a good time. It's like last time I was shooting, it's like, yeah, that, I just like did a quick video, and I texted him like, yeah, that was me shooting, in case you're wondering. He's like, oh, I was on my way over and you're already gone. He's like, I was going to come shoot with you.
Hey, there you go. That's the best part about having good neighbors.
Oh yeah.
Out on the family farm out there in Texas, it's the same way. We don't have the most acreage, but man, we'll hunt the back 5 or 10 acres behind the house, and then there's a forest behind that, and our neighbors are like, yeah, that's our property, but just come shoot us a text, let us know, and we'll tell you where the deer stand is, and you go grab a deer, and it's cool. A good time. It's if you work with your neighbors, it's like, hey, treat people around you well, and they treat you well.
Yeah,
it tends to work out.
Yeah, so the neighbor to the east of me, it's funny, I got a box, like, I don't know what the delivery people sometimes have me scratching my head. I didn't even look at the label on the box. I just saw it was some holster company. I'm like, oh, okay, maybe they're sending me something for a review or whatever. And I was walking in, and then I finally looked, and it's my neighbor's name. I'm like, I almost opened it up thinking it was like, oh, I wonder what this is. and like, oh, hey, you got this. And I'm like, all right, so he's a gun guy. That guy's a gun guy. My neighbor's over there. So yeah, I'm in pretty good company. I'm pretty happy about that. So I got to get going. I got a Bible study group to go to. So
you're good. I'm on dad duty tonight, so it's girls' night. So I've got a couple of toddlers I got to run and try and wrangle.
Cool. Well, it was good having you on. I still have like probably 100 questions about the AUG and stuff like that.
Happy to help.
I don't think I should have trouble putting it together, but I'm like, I was real glad to talk to you today about that, because usually you and I will have like a hurried phone call. It's like, all right, I got 5 minutes. Yeah. Kind of thing.
It's around here. It always feels like there's a dumpster fire of some sort. If it's not a crisis in the shop, it's a family crisis. If it's not that, I'm getting called at 9 o'clock at night because I got servers overheating and I got to drive back to base. And there's always something around here.
No, oh shoot. So you're in the Navy, but you do tech work.
Yeah, I work in IT right now.
Okay.
I'm taking over as a chief information officer out here at the Naval Nuclear Power Command.
Oh, cool. Oh, dude, I actually qualified for the Navy Nuclear Power Program back in the day.
Hey, there you go. Yep. If you ever come around here, I used to teach math and chemistry. And now I run the IT department. So it was a big shift, but working IT is so much better.
So give your plugs. Don't put the .com in.
Yeah,
we can't do that.
For sure. Check us out, 3D Print Freedom, on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, or I guess it's not Twitter anymore, it's X. And of course our website, no.com on that. And we're happy to help. If you are interested in any of our upcoming factory projects, so things that are going to be for the factory AUG, the factory SKSs, some of our chassis systems, you can find us at skxrifles.com. Without that I have a license for. No ghost guns on there.
All righty. All right, man. Hey, Jacob, thank you very much, everybody. Hope you have a great day. And where's the end?